Tooblack. Yeah, come on. Right, Chicken Tooblack. And who do you have here today? Yeah. Right. Well. Right. Try to put this one in through yesterday. But somehow, YouTube man said no. So we're going to try and reload this again. For whatever reason, it wasn't going through yesterday. Now, today's talk is to do with our friends who are these guys here. So it's the boys in black.
Fire and smoke belched forth, falling ruins upon the earth.
Right. So, when you're coming into business with these boys, I think that ladies and gentlemen know that they're running a business. The boys and girls still think that these people are protecting the communities. But in any event, should you ever be in a position where you need to write to them or to deal with them and do this sort of stuff, because they're automatons and they're robots, and they don't function by any logic, they function by orders and commands. When you draft your claims and complaints, for them to function or for them to move or act in their fictitious world, you're required to put in the numbers, the requisite numbers. So that's the one that you could use. It's PRA 2002. If the intention of it in any case is that any conduct of a person, a corporation serving with the police and forces, which has an adverse effect on a member of the public, that's number one. Number two, or is sufficiently serious to bring the policy enforcing organization into disrepute. You see, whether you are a victim or whether you just observe, then you have a right to make a so-called complaint. I'd recommend that everybody make claims and not complaints. So I'm going to show you a sample of a letter of claim after this. So the three groups who can so-called complain, who can make a claim about the conduct of a person serving with the police and forces, are number one is victims. So if the police and forces violate your rights, so you can make a claim. Number two is a witness, you can make a claim also. So if you see them violating somebody else's rights, you don't have to be directly involved in the matter. You could still make a complaint. And number three, you do not have to be a witness. You do not have to be a victim. But if the conduct of the policy enforcer affects you adversely, then you can make a complaint. But that'll mean, for instance, if you see the policy enforcers attacking someone, as always do 6 or 7 of them on one individual, it's ridiculous. 6 grown men jumping one man in public. And the only reason they get away with it is because they're wearing uniform. How stupid. But that's where we are today. It's a Nazi. We're living in the land of the Nazis. Right, so 6 men can jump one man, claiming to arrest him. So if you're adversely affected by this kind of conduct, then you need to write your complaints. And the act that you use is the PRA, the 2002, Section 12. But if you get it up on the PRA out and look at it, you'll find out where you fit in. So if you're a victim, you're going to construct your letters and use the proper orders or the rules and regulations, then they have no choice but to act. And also, someone can make a, for instance, if you come across the men and the women, they know how to write or to make a complaint. However, for these boys and little girls and the monkey people, right, someone can act on behalf of the complainant if they have been given written authority, and that's Section 12. So if you're a monkey man, or if you're a stupid little boy or a little girl whose brain is impervious to knowledge and you're unable to read or write, what you can do is you can put a thumbprint of a piece of paper and have somebody else draft the complaint on your behalf. Right. Now, records. Now, the chief conman and the police authorities must keep records of all complaints and what they call purported complaints. If you make a complaint and you put the numbers in, they might call it a complaint and record it. If you don't put the numbers in, they might call it a purported complaint. There is the way they avoid liability is by using these words. It's not a claim; it's a purported claim. They don't have to address it correctly. It's a child's game. They're abusing their position, right? So in any case, purported claims made. Every conduct matter must be recorded, and every exercise of power or duty made. Now, we've spoken about the power and the duty before. So you know, power is discretionary, a duty is an obligation. Every time they're exercising powers, 99% of the time, it's not an obligation, it's discretionary. They're using the privilege, and they're using discretionary powers for commercial gain, right? So don't be a victim of our buddies. Right, appeals. So in the legal fiction system, if the chief conman fails to record your complaint, you have somebody called an IPCC that you could write to, and that's another level of appeal. So if the chief conman fails to record, the way it works is this: you make a complaint, and then you can ask for a copy of the complaint. If the complaint was not made, the chief conman has a responsibility to give you a reason why the complaint was not recorded, and also in the same letter, on the as soon as possible, to give you your rights of appeal against that decision. Right. So use a PRA 2002. That's the amendment, or a different, how would you call it, an improvement on what used to be the PA of 1996. All right. So section, schedule 3, para 3. In any situation where the police authority or chief conman has declined or failed to notify or record the whole or part of the complaint, then the complainant must be told of this and the grounds for it. 2 things. Right, they must tell you that they don't want to record the complaint, and they must give you the grounds. Why won't you record this complaint? And number 3, you must be informed of your right to appeal that decision. So people, please use this one. Okay? Schedule 3. So you're going to make your complaints. It could be that I was walking down the street, some fool came up to me in his school uniform, and these weapons of death and torture wrapped around his waist, asking me silly questions like, what's my name? I told him where to go with that bullshit, right? And he jumped me. Not in those words, but yeah, more or less that's the basis of the complaint. So what I want you to do is, Mr. Conman, I want you to record this complaint against this policy enforcer. He refused to give me his name. However, his number was 3456. And this incident happened here and there. And after you finish doing that, please send me a copy of my complaint. And also inform the policy enforcer who I've complained about that I have made a complaint against his conduct. Against him for his conduct. You see. Now, police enforcing officers, enforcement policy is a good one. They are under duty. Now it's not discretionary or privilege. It's the obligation. They have a duty to supply a copy of the record made of the complaint to the complainant and the officer complained about, and that's regulation 14. So if you want to make it simple for them, you use these numbers. Pursuant to regulation 14, please supply me a copy of the complaint that I made on January the 1st. Thank you very much, Mr. Chief Conman. You see. So don't get too involved with these people. I'll leave it on for a while so you can see if you need to pause it and get whatever information you need. But that's a good act to use when you're drafting your, I call them claims, they call them complaints. When you write a letter of claim, but they still call it a complaint. However, you want to make a claim. And I have a sample of a claim letter here. I hope it's clear enough. So obviously at the top you put your details, the title of it. There. So the title of the letter of claim, you put the chief conman and the contact details. You put the date, what it regards, an address, national insurance number, date of birth, and the custody record number. Right? This is legal fiction, ladies and gentlemen. It's legal fiction. And it's written in legalese, but this is how they operate in that world. I'm talking about the land of the law of the seas here. We're not talking about real living men and women. We're talking about legalese and acts. And acts are just that. This is the fictional world. That's why you have an address, for instance. That's why you have a national insurance number. That's why you have a date of birth. That's why you have a custody record number. In the real world, you don't have any of these things. You see, because first of all, there's never going to be a custody record number. Because if you know who you are and where you stand in law, you see, then you'll never, ever, ever accept the position or station of custodian. You'll always have dominion authority over your estate, over your name. And you'll tell these fools in their policy enforcing stations, and they'll have no idea what you're talking about, mate. What are you talking about, mate? I don't know what you're talking about, mate. I say, go and read a book, you idiot. Pretending to be. Right. Date of birth as well. You know, understand that's a date of incorporation. That's a corporation. So the living man or living woman does not have that. National insurance number, same. These are accounts used to conduct Roman business. So a living man or living woman doesn't have that. A corporation does have a number. An address also is a commercial premises. You see, when we do business from the living side, date as well is a gift. And chief conman is an office. It's not an individual, right? So in the fictional world, a corporation moves against the corporation. So your straw man moves against the office of the chief conman. In the real world, a man or a woman moves against a man or a woman acting as or pretending to be a chief conman, if you see what I mean. So you'll find out what their name is. So if your name is John Doe, it's going to be John Doe. You're going to be moving against John Smith. So there won't be any chief conman or the office. Okay, and all this stuff will not be there. There won't be a date. The date will be written in letters. If you and then put it in the numbers in brackets. Everything in numbers is always in brackets. Numbers are legal fiction. They're not real. Address could be location. National insurance number doesn't exist. Date of birth, if you need to use it, is the day of nativity. It's not a birth date. A birth date is the date of incorporation. Incorporation and nativity are two different things. That's why your so-called monarchs or your queens have two birthdays. There's a nativity, day of nativity, and there's a date of birth, the date of incorporation. Right, let's get back to this. Otherwise we tend to get carried away. So the letter of claim looks, this is very it's a sample, okay? So just get the idea of how to construct it, but make it as short and as brief as possible. So this one would be, for instance, if we do it from the advocacy, then we do it this way. So the wording would change if you're doing it from your individual perspective. So it's not going to be we are, it's going to be I, right? So we are instructed by the above, which is you, to claim damages. In your instance, you'd be saying, I here make a claim for damages in connection with an assault and battery, false imprisonment, and malicious prosecution, rising out of an incident on the, you put the date and the location. And that's your heading. You see, it's briefly, just like that. And then you put the circumstances. So on the January the 1st, it's not going to be our client. I'd say you were sitting in a place doing whatever you're doing. Before you know it, you're grabbed by force and spun round, right? So you turn around and in this instance, you find somebody wearing a school uniform standing in front of you and talking all these acts. And before you know it, he strikes you in the side of the jaw and you fall to the ground. They pick you up, put some chains in your hand, hold you and put you in a van and take you to their place of business to try and contract with you. Mm-hmm. But whatever the incidence is, you need to make it as brief as possible. So you only put in the relevant matters. So in this one, the extent of force that was used is the question. That if a man is standing there and he's not posing any threat, does a policy enforcer have a right to hit him simply because they're having a bad day, or because their wife left them, or because they are depressed? I don't know what the fuck makes them be like that, but whatever reason. So this is the circumstances. So the circumstances would be a brief narration of what it is that you're complaining about, or what happened. Not so much what you complain about, but what happened. Just, yeah, this is what happened. And then the next heading, right, where are we? I'm going to get back to the important bit. Right. So the things you need to get is this. You need to, so for instance, they refuse to give you their names, you get their numbers, so you can put it in your claim, and then they can be traced so that they can give their side of the story. Right here. H is important. You have to be given reasons for arrest all the time, and it has to be lawful reasons, genuine reasons, right? Now, after the incidences, you need to say the reason why you're alleging fault. So you've explained what happened and why is it that their conduct is at fault. Now, number one, the force. Because they're here to force you to do things you don't want to do. That's what they tell you. We are a force. Okay, we're going to try and force you to do stuff. The forces. So the forces used excessive force against our client, which constituted assault. It was unlawful. They have no lawful right to assault anyone. Right? Either in every respect or involving the use of excessive and unreasonable force. So that's the wording. If they ever use unreasonable force, that's the wording for it. Detention was not founded on reasonable suspicion or honest belief that a crime was going to be committed. And I'm talking about if you haven't done anything. I'm not talking about where you've caused injury, loss, and damage. The cases we deal with are cases where there is no injured party. You see, so when there is no injured party, then there is no reasonable suspicion for anything. Number 3 is good. If you're not informed of the facts or the grounds for arrest, that's a good one. And if you're held for an unreasonably long amount of time, maximum 24 hours. By 24 hours, they should finish doing whatever they need to do. But I've realized some of the people we come across, these people are, they're cowards. They're unwilling to spend an hour in a cell standing up for their rights. That's how silly these boys are and little girls are. They're not prepared to spend a day, 24 hours in a cell to stand up for their rights. See, they're still behind the trees, bunch of cowards. Anyway, men and women, we carry on. Little boys and little girls, you know what to do. Right, after that, now, once you've done your reasons why you're alleging their fault and you've put down the incidents, and then in light of the above, I believe I have a good case against you. So the chief con man, and then you put